Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this glorious day. Thank you for all that we have been given from you that we enjoy. Guide us in the use and care. Be with all those in our midst that are going through medical traumas, medical tests and healings. Be with those that need your comfort and care. Just be with us throughout this week. Bless this day. Amen. And David, if you would introduce.
Sure. Well, it has been a pleasure to work with Natanya on scheduling this talk. It was originally scheduled for something else. I had an opening and she worked with me on changing her schedule because I had her in sometime in the fall.
It was December.
Yeah, it was because we filled up so much, and then I had a sudden opening. So she has graciously worked with me and understanding. You all know how difficult I am to work with, so you can appreciate what she's gone through. But anyway, I didn't have the vision. She had the vision that this would help a number of people, and I've already gotten 2 requests from people that have vision issues that couldn't make it, that want to see the recording. So please help me welcome Natanya to this.
Hi everyone. Now, can people hear me without the mic?
No.
No, got it. Mic it is.
Okay.
So thank you for that. All right. Now you guys are going to see something called trailing. It's what visually impaired people do when they can't hold a mic and a script at the same time. I am very aware that this is behind me. So I shouldn't run into you, but first row, be aware of it. So let's get the mic.
Here's your mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Whoa.
You're good. You're all right.
Okay, I'm going to stand right here.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I'm doing, for those of you who are wondering, is being visually impaired. I'm extremely sensitive to sound.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with me? I think you might have an issue with me. All right, let's get started. First of all, my name is Natanya Sortland. I am so grateful that you all are giving me your time. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how I ended up connected to Vision Corps, what happened to me, what I'm doing about it, what I'm doing for our community, and why on earth is this the 5th year I'm going to rappel down a 10-story building. And I am terrified of heights. I was like, can't we have a dance-a-thon? Can't we? What about an eating contest? I mean, come on, bagels, am I right? No. So this will be the 5th year that I am leading our county's team to raise money to support the services that I got and to help build our blind community. But I think before I get into anything, I need to tell you what happened to me. Well, I was minding my own business about 11 years. I just finished work. It was a cold, crisp Saturday, feeling pretty good. And as I was trying to put my groceries away, all of a sudden, felt like I had been shot in the head. I dropped to my knees, and the next thing I knew, I was being medevaced to the hospital. At a very young age, I had a subarachnoid brain hemorrhage, very, very threatening. I'm going to skim over a lot of the details. I can always talk more in depth about what happened. But when I left the hospital, I was significantly impaired, trouble walking, needed a wheelchair a lot, language impediment, aphasia, apraxia. I was partially nonverbal. For about 6 years, I had the mindset of a 6-year-old. I was not expected to recover as I have. But you know, a year after my stroke, the roof of our woodshed fell on top of my head where they'd operated, where they drilled. And when I came to, I was instantly legally blind. And after doing this a couple of times, you know, you're just like, come on, work. Anybody ever like have eye issues and you're like, come on, like you're trying to shake it off, right? So I was rushed to the hospital again. And it seemed that my brain had had one too many insults. And my eyes no longer work together. I have double vision. I can't really make you out. I can see contrast. I can see beautiful colors. But I have acquired cortical visual impairment. And what that means is I can't see because of the damage to my brain. What do you do? Imagine waking up in the morning and the stairs look flat. You gotta reach for your coffee mug and you miss. It's a series of awful discoveries. Like, wait, why is it not there, right? I was terrified. And a lot of people in our community are terrified, whether it's a stroke or macular degeneration, what have you. The strangest things happen to your eyes. Did you know you can have an eye stroke? It's very rare. I was like, I did not know that was a thing. So I was trying to wing it and nobody knew how to help me. I didn't think go to the National Federation of the Blind. You just don't think that. I was almost hit and killed by a car that I didn't see. And as I grew desperate, thank you, somebody told me about an organization called Vision Corps. And I got free services from them. They drove all the way from Lancaster and came into my home. Her name is Taylor. And I'm freaking out. How do I do this? How do I do that? And by the way, I was still partially nonverbal. So I'm sure Taylor heard, you know, I was such a mess. And Taylor said, you know what? What you have is a challenge. And Vision Corps is going to help you meet that challenge. And I instantly realized this is a challenge. It gave me my attitude. I'm not sad. I can't even see pictures in my head. Everything is a challenge. How do I figure out what to wear? Get help. How do I? All my how do I's over the last 8 years have been answered in person. They helped me get my cane. They've helped me in every way possible. And then, how did I end up going down a building? Not on purpose. So do you ever think that if somebody calls you to do something terrifying, that you'll be like, I'll do it. I'm brave. I've got God on my shoulder. I'm going to do it. I was not that person. So it was about 5 years after my stroke. And Taylor comes in and she's like, would you climb down a 10-story building for our annual fundraiser? No. I mean, I've had a stroke. I have language disabilities. I can't. She goes, what? And then next year, people kept asking me, would you please climb down the building? And I'm like, you guys have to tell me what your thing is with climbing down buildings. Yeah. And then it was explained to me and my life changed. Taylor said, and Vision Corps has been around as of, I think, next year, 100 years. But she said, Vision Corps has been around in 4 other counties, York, Adams, Lebanon, and Lancaster, for a very long time. Vision Corps looked over at our county and said, you know, I don't think they've got exactly our services. The jobs, training, independence, early eye screening for children, and a number of things that I'll get into that I didn't even know about. And Taylor said to me, Natanya, we've only been in Vision Corps for about 5 years. No one is fundraising. Nobody is climbing down the building. We're trying to let everybody know in Chester County, like, we're here, we got cool stuff, we got stuff. Because they spend all their money on services. I mean, can you imagine, let's say you guys try to get your services into Philadelphia. You're not connected to Philadelphia. You don't know who's doing what. And Philadelphia is like, who are you? I don't know you. So that first year, I realized I needed to dress up as a Statue of Liberty. I knew I needed to get press. I I knew I needed to find a way to get Chester County's attention because I was determined that the services I got would be available for all of you. And I knew that if I don't do something, if we don't do something, the Vision Corps is just not going to be a presence. It can't be. So I prayed and I just decided I'm partially nonverbal still. I'm still in speech therapy for aphasia and apraxia. I have short and long-term memory loss. I will not remember what I've said to you today. I'm like, God, could you have picked a worse person to do this? I can barely email. How am I going to do this? Wear a costume. Okay. That first year, it was just me and 99 people from all the other counties. That year, Chester County raised about 2,500, all me. And the next year, I just kept trying. And people began to come into my life. I happened to meet the president of the United Way of Chester County, Chris Sala. Their vice president, Christina Wagner, said, I'm not going to let you go down that building alone, girl. I'm going with you. And the next year, I found even more people. I was like, how is this happening? I found Pastor Alex Becker from Covenant Presbyterian Church. He's like, I'll go down with you. I'm like, seriously? Because you're a lot closer to the Almighty when you're up on the building. I was saying, for those of you, it's a good opportunity. And then I got more and more people, and then I decided what I wanted to do. It's not just about a fundraiser. No, this is about a friend raiser. Because do we ever celebrate the blind? Do we ever go, woohoo, look at that blind person climbing down a building? No. And it's a great opportunity for the non-visually impaired to kind of see what we're capable of, and especially in my community, what we're capable of. So I got into action. So it's year 5, and I now have Covenant Presbyterian Church. I have now one of their missions. And I said, let's not just raise money. Let's have an event, have the kids involved, and let the kids pick what costume the pastor is going to wear. And I have to admit that was Pastor Alex's idea, but it's involving the whole community. I found, I'm an audio describer coach, which means I help audio describers in the theater. And I have a friend of mine who is a professional audio describer to the big theaters in Philadelphia and elsewhere. I said, girl, you want to climb down the building and audio describe it? She's going to do it. We just have to find a GoPro. Why am I doing this? Because when I give presentations to children, to communities, I want to say, everybody close your eyes and be just like us and listen what it's like to audio describe going down that building. I am going to get glasses that will allow people to see different visual impairments. So this year, so far, we have 15 people. My dream is to have 20, just as many as the other counties, climbing down that building on that day. My dream is that our community will watch it on live stream. They will comment, celebrate, or come down to Lancaster, which is where the event is. I have children involved now. I am supported by an organization called the Drishti Foundation. These are children during COVID that sold their art to raise money for the blind. And they support me, and I go, well, instead of sponsoring me, why don't you go down? I have someone from Guiding Eyes for the Blind. Yes, we have to raise money. Lancaster is supplementing us a lot of money. We're not paying our own way, but we will someday. I'm going to keep doing this until we do. So I got a little off track. That's what happens when you're brain injured. And I want to very quickly talk about some of the services that Vision Corps does to give you ideas. Let me actually look at my script. This is how a blind person does this for long. Okay, why is it important to get like cane training, right? I've spent years on it. I'll tell you a really funny story. This guy named Jesse, who has climbed down the building himself. And when a lot of us first get visually impaired, we're like, training. You should have seen me with my cane. I was whacking everything. I thought that was cane training. I was like, whack, where are you? So his family, his brother said, Jesse, okay, you just need a cane. What do you need training for? His brother kindly gifted him a wonderful cane for Christmas for a child. Did I mention Jesse's 6 foot? This guy was going like this one. I think this is cane training. One of my greatest pleasures is when I speak and somebody says, hey, I've got macular degeneration or I have this issue. I'm like, here you go, let's talk. And then to come back to that community and see they've got the glasses with the proper shade that really help them. They've got that one doohickey that I can tell the time now it speaks. There are so many solutions out there that Vision Corps can give you. And I'm your person. Come talk to me. There's a lot of other things that we do. I'm like, when you have a brain injured person, anything can happen. All right, so I've talked about one of my passions, macular degeneration, all of that. The doctors are not going to tell you anything but here's your diagnosis and best wishes. All right, that's what happens. We can stop that. We can stop that. You know someone with macular degeneration, you know someone with an eye issue, come to me. Everything's got a solution. There are support groups out there for the visually impaired. Did you know that? In Chester County. And I know that all of you in your work have realized by now there are a tremendous amount of resources that people just don't know about. One of the things I am a strong believer in is the kids. And a lot of times children, it gets missed by their pediatrician. And so they're about to go into kindergarten, right? Everyone said, your eyes look great. A lot of children have subtle or not so subtle visual impairments that are not caught. And it affects them as they go through school. Vision Corps comes in and will test the kids. I believe last year we did about 1,800 kids. And there's a particularly, one of the standout stories is out of the 1,800 kids, 200 actually needed more support for their sight. So those are 200 kids not going into their life as a student, not seeing things correctly, being told they're stupid. No, they just need a new kind of glasses. One of the best stories is, and this was in Chester County, is that there's a child who had just had his eyes kind of checked over by the pediatrician. And it's at, preschool. And the mom's like, it doesn't need to be checked. Well, Vision Corps is like, well, we're here. Can we take a peek under the hood? Sure. It turns out he had a very severe eye condition that needed to be operated on, and it saved his sight. You and I both know how many people fall through the cracks. Have you ever met anyone and you thought, they'd just known this organization, if they had just found this resource? Well, I am that for the visually impaired. So how can you help? What can you do? First of all, I am a public speaker. I have all these things, aphasia, apraxia, and I am not supposed to be able to speak so clearly to you, but yet, somehow when you are passionate enough, you are able to do it. I'm very happy to speak to children. I'm very happy to speak to congregations. I can talk on any number of topics, but let's let people know that they're not alone. And let's celebrate us visually impaired folks. And maybe you might want to join our Chester County team. Climb down that building. And I'll tell you what it's done for Pastor Alex's congregation. The visually impaired people are less ashamed they're visually impaired. I know, because I like to come back to churches, I like to come back to people, see how everyone's doing. And this is what a visually impaired person always does to me. Sideways walk. But, oh God, thank God, I thought that was mine. I just want everyone to know, like in Zoom land, I had this feeling like, oh God, I didn't turn off my phone. That's such a good look for a public speaker. Oh my gosh, and being brain injured, I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, Pastor Alex, thank you. Pastor Alex's congregation. So this is what happens to me a lot. Side up to me is like, hey, how's it going? So what happened to you? I'm like, I can't see out of my left eye. Like it's a secret. And I'm like, cool. You ever run into anything? Yeah. Yeah, me too. I mean, they're hiding. There are so many people that need to use a cane that won't, right? You know those people. It's like the people who really need a hearing aid and they refuse to get a hearing aid. Anyway, I want to wrap this up by saying thank you. If you remember nothing else from today, remember, take my card, let me help, let me speak, give me the opportunity. And I do believe I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure that our county has all the things that the other counties have. They hire, I haven't even gotten, they have built 3 plants, they hire blind people. There's rice over there that a blind person packaged and that a blind manager oversaw. My cane trainer was blind. Our tech expert is blind. And they are hired and they have their own place in the other counties, each of the counties. Wow, I want one in Chester County. They are so well funded and well understood in the other counties by the Lions Club, by the doctors, that they just get referrals. But we're not there yet in our county. And I'm gonna be 90 years old going, just lower me down. Like I can't anymore. I'm 90, just, come on. I'm gonna spend the rest of my life making sure that everyone has the same opportunities as I did, because without Vision Corps, I would not, after a decade, have a very small job advocating. I want to leave time for questions, but thank you so much for your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for me or anything like that? Oh, you're gonna have to say something. Yep.
Natanya, hi.
Yes.
Steffi Swope.
Hi.
I'm curious, we're the wealthiest county in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And I'm curious why we are so behind as far as vision.
So one of the reasons is just Philadelphia has Vision Link and they're really great, but they're kind of in the Philly area and I like them a lot. Vision Corps is to the west of us. So we just ended up sort of in this space where they didn't have the kind of services that the other counties had. And it's just fluke. We have great blind schools in our area. And maybe because we are so wealthy that the children who end up blind that have money don't quite need the same services. So the reason we're behind is because the 4 other counties, right, that have Vision Corps, like imagine for 100 years it's been in their county. That means the Lions clubs, that means all of their infrastructure is all connected. And there's that support, right? And we don't have that because we're new. And so that's it. It really comes down to, imagine trying to break into Philadelphia, how different we are from Philadelphia. It's Lancaster. They don't know our county. They don't. We are supported by the Chester County United Way. I've had our president go down. Chris came down the building. They support us. We are supported by a number of organizations. I'm supported by the Coventry Lions Club. I'm supported by the Mid-Atlantic Blind Golf Association. So it's just me. And so that's the reason, is we're sort of kind of in between. And there's something that you get from being a part of Vision Corps. Community. You get community. It's so lonely when you can't see the world, and it's so lonely not understanding what's happening to you. And to have a community that, I love that they chose to climb down a building. I mean, I don't love that they chose to climb down a building, but I've had on my team a silver para Olympian. You want a silver medal in goalball. And I said, come to the event. I want to honor you because I want to honor all the amazing visually impaired people we have in our county. But to address why are we so fiscally behind? Because I'm the little engine that can and must and will. And so it's a slow build. That's yeah.
Tanya, can you just give us a little more background
on Vision Corps.
Mhm. Yeah, let me do that. Let me go back to the script. Bear with me. This is what you get with the brain injury. Let's see. Bear with me. I wish my phone would ring now. It would, all right. So they do vision screening for preschool children. They do services for children and adults from birth to over the age of 100. We have support groups for individuals with vision loss so they can share stories and guidance on overcoming obstacles. We have orientation and mobility education, which teaches clients how to travel safely and independently. Instruction on vision aids like magnifiers and high contrast items to support daily living tasks. Youth enrichment services, which offer fun activities like cooking, kayaking, and classes to help students live a full and independent life after high school. Access to technology training in the most up-to-date devices and software available for individuals with vision loss. Meaningful employment opportunities for people with vision loss. Yes, sir.
Are they nonprofit?
Absolutely. So they are a nonprofit. In fact, the 3 facilities that they created so that we could have jobs, our contracts are with the United States government. Hold on one second. Got this rice. Anybody hungry? Anybody need something for dinner? So it says, please enjoy this white rice from Riceland, a proud Vision Corps sponsor, Vision Corps supplier for Vision Corps' U.S. military rice product line. So yeah, please ask more questions. Yes, please.
Yeah, I volunteered here and in Florida for Braille and Talking Books and recording for the blind and
Oh my gosh.
dyslexic.
Yep.
Do you have that kind of service, or do you just connect with those organizations?
Yeah, so what happened for me is I got connected. I mean, literally with free services. So when Taylor came in, Taylor, if you're watching this, I love you, shout out. She's awesome. She connected me with all the free services so you could listen. I have a friend of mine from Guiding Eyes from the Blind. She's climbing down the building. Her dog is going to be cheering us on. She is now getting services and learning how to do Braille, and she's now getting services so she can get a job. And so it's all about, like, finding the resources that already exist that are free and connecting instead of investing more money in reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing, if you're talking about connecting, this is sort of what I do in my spare time, but I like to connect visually impaired people, as I've talked before, with the theater, their audio described performances. I like to connect it with, I tried adaptive sports. If you're blind, skiing, climbing a wall. So yes, the Vision Corps does help connect with outside services,
Okay.
absolutely. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
So I just thought of something while you were talking. While I was in dental school, I was doing x-rays on one of these teenagers that came in for wisdom teeth extraction. And it's not unusual. He only had 3 wisdom teeth to be extracted. Usually you have 4. Then I started staring at his x-ray, and I saw this bubble up to his eye, and inside of it was a molar. This was migrating to his optic nerve. Yeah, he hadn't come in to have his wisdom teeth extracted. Blindness or vision impairment would have been next.
Absolutely. And that's why, the screening that they do and miracles, I mean, that's a miracle, right?
Yeah.
But that's really what we're about. And I always think children first, honestly. And if we can get them screened, if we can for free, and if they need help getting glasses paid for, even for older people, there is a woman with macular degeneration that needed these glasses. She said, I can't afford it. I'm like, don't worry about it. I don't know how. We'll figure it out. But yeah, absolutely. It's really amazing how any of you, anyone, like I didn't expect to have a stroke. If you'd asked me, like, Natanya, you're 35 years old. What do you think is going to happen to you? You're going to have a stroke. You're going to go legally blind. And then you're going to start climbing down buildings. And then you're going to start speaking to people. And you've got short-term, long-term memory loss. I'm like, It's not a movie. Any other questions?
So I
Yes.
have a second one, and this one was, some of you may know Jack Robinson. He's at Maris Grove. And he used to be one of our most faithful members. But with macular degeneration, he could no longer see the slides. And so he stopped coming. But he called me and he asked for how can he read the Bible? Because the things that we had with large print, he can no longer read that.
Yep.
So I'll let you take it from there.
I love those questions. Because when you're visually impaired, you're like, how do I? How do I do this? How do I do this? And trust me, there are millions of other people who figured it out. Several ways you can do it. Braille, hardest way. Listening. I don't miss Lard, I miss holding a book a little bit. But when you hear the world, you experience it differently, right? And he will experience the Bible differently because there's no judgment with the eyes. He's not intimidated by the words. He gets to listen and take it in. So I love that question.
I'm just full.
No, thank goodness. See, I don't want to miss anything, because I can forget things. So I'm like, please.
You know when I hate driving? Anybody else at night?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything for that?
Absolutely. So, I can't give all the answers. I wish I could, but it's such a common problem. Somebody's got some thoughts on it. And that's what I learned from Vision Corps. I imagine that there are special glasses to help you with the glare. I imagine that there is something, right? So that's the question that you would ask someone at Vision Corps. You say, all right, and it's different for everybody. You might have issues with it because of the light. You might have issues with it because of another reason. So it's about, it's just, all right, what's going on? All right, put this on. Does it work? Yes. Move on with your life. Yes.
And I go to my eye doctor twice a year, and he always asks me that question: how are you doing driving? And fortunately, right now, I think it's starting to affect me.
Yep.
And so I'll have an answer. I'll have another question for him next time I go.
Yep.
What do you do in a case like that?
What are you doing? I love that question. And I respect you for it because everybody knows someone who shouldn't be driving and they don't want to stop. And you're like, ah. I had to stop driving 10 years ago. So, and I accepted it because, I have so many other things to be concerned about. But it is an issue. And the first way I believe that you keep driving as long as possible is by having a good relationship with your eye doctor and understanding and being honest. Are you not seeing things? If you're not able to see well at night, can you get a ride? Can you carpool? What can you do? So I like to think there are two kinds of solutions: acceptance and what's out there for me. But the smartest people are the ones that say, hey, my eyes may not always be able to see well, and I may not always be able to drive, right? Be proactive. Do you have dry eye? Like, I have dry eye because I forget to blink because I don't really use my eyes that much. Dry eye can really affect you. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but that's a really healthy thought process to say, hey, one of these days I may not be able to drive. Watch the clues, see what I can do about it to maintain it for as long as possible. And then when it's time to say, all right, I'm not driving at night, start carpooling. Because you don't lose your independence when you stop driving. You gain your independence from harming another person when you make arrangements. It takes courage to say, you know what? But I'm very impressed with you. Most people don't want to talk about this subject, but I haven't driven in since the thing fell on my head. Yes.
Way back when in high school, there was a blind student in my homeroom, Art Tuttle, and he had a seeing eye dog. But long story short, we'd walk to school and his path intersected with mine a lot of times. And he was very independent. Remember one day It was raining, there was a huge puddle, and I said, watch it. He said, don't tell me about the puddle. The dog will alert me. He walked through it.
I love where this is going.
How
I
do
know where this is
blind,
going.
how do blind people wish to be treated? Do they want somebody to help them, or do you wait till you're asked?
All right, so this is something, all right, I can say these things because I'm legally blind. I believe it is up to a blind person to let people know how they wish to be treated. Give them a heads up. That's why people hover. They're like, am I supposed to not? Oh, what if she dies in front of me, right? So what I do is I personally put people at ease. I say, I see enough to get myself into trouble. And then you see me how I'm like, all right, this is back here. I haven't run into you yet, right? So I think I would have felt it. One of the issues that you have with visually impaired is some of them might be a little cranky about it. Some of them might have a chip on their shoulder. So what I would suggest is look at them for just a second and take them in. Are they like with their cane and they know what they're doing? They got a dog, they know what they're doing. And instead of talking about their blindness or their dog, say, hey, how you doing? That's just a suggestion. Every blind person's different, right? And if this is a kid, probably was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good, but it's a huge pothole and it just opened. No, I'm good. So we're all different. But I love that question. And that's why one of the talks I give to children and adults, like I actually gave a presentation on how do you treat someone with a service dog? And I just went through it. And I myself am getting ready to apply for a companion dog that's very highly trained. So cross your fingers for me. It'll take a couple of years. I'll invite you all if I have, I guess there's a huge adoption ceremony, but you know, sorry, that was so off topic. You just said dogs, it's your fault. But my point is that instead of thinking, how do I treat a blind person, think, how do I treat this person? And what's difficult, I think, for us is the first thing anybody ever talks about is, you can't see. I'm like, you're right. So, you know, and but I really, you guys, that I call them civilians, the people who cannot see, you guys are doing your best. And I do believe it is up to the visually impaired community to give you guys a heads up on how we want to be treated. So if you are trying to be thoughtful and somebody visually impaired kind of go, right? They're just like you and me. You know how there are some people who have their sight and you want to help them, they're like, I got that door. And they're like, right? You want to help them? The same thing with visual impairment. The way you treat us is see us as a person. Don't address the dog. I'm just going to give you a little free hint. Those dogs are working, and it's important not to touch them, not to address them. For some people, you know, you will never even get the dog's real name. Only the handler will say their real name. And so it's just, like I said, for another time, for another talk, but there's definitely the do's and don'ts, and things are appreciated. But if you notice someone who looks like they can handle themselves, ask them how they're doing. Like, hey, or ask them, hey, you like the Eagles? They did well. You'd be amazed at the kind of small talk I get from people. It's always about, oh, you can't see. I'm like, yeah, but I go birds. go birds. So anyway, yeah, I love that question.
So,
Yeah, I think, is there, I saw this.
I'm Ray.
Oh, hi.
So I noticed that you're able to look at your script and
Yeah.
have some ability to see it.
Yep.
Will your condition change? Will it improve, or will it any change at all through the course of your life?
I love your question. I have a very unique, stop it. I have a very unique eye condition, which is my brain. So in the beginning of the day like this, if you see I close this eye a lot, I tilt right here, man. I can see the words. Later on in the day, my vision gets worse because my brain gets more tired. I don't know if you notice, I have all these pin pricks right around my eyes. You may not be able to see it, but I also have eye spasms. So I just went and got Botox, not for beauty, but for the spot, but you can see they're kind of in a different spot. So I don't have a normal eye condition, but There are a lot of us, I like to call us zebras. You know, most visually impaired people kind of have what you would expect. And then every once in a while, you're like, I had an eye stroke. So a friend of mine had one of those. I'm like, that's kind of cool. Never heard of that. So it's a yes. So mine is not going to get worse, except by the end of the day. And probably as I get older, as my brain gets more tired. So yeah, that's a great question. Oh, and what you might be really interested in is only 10% of people who are legally blind see nothing. So think about it. Let's say you're driving your car and you see nothing. But what if you're driving your car and you have two tiny little circles that you can look out of? Still shouldn't be on the road. What if everything's foggy and you can see contrast? Still shouldn't be on the road. So that's what an eye condition is like. You can't drive a car. So only 10% of people can't see anything. The rest of us are like, we're trying to like work with what vision we have as best as we can. So I love that question. It's a great question. Yes.
I have a confession to make.
Oh God. Am I a witness?
Probably you don't know it, but every Monday I have to put together the announcement that's in the church bulletin. And so I, typing out. And just before I hit send, I said, she's legally blind. And I'm typing out a message. How crazy is this? But she had answered other emails.
Yeah.
So I have a very simple question.
Yes.
Because I normally increase my font from small to large.
I love me some big font. I love big font. I love it.
So I have huge.
Yeah.
Would that help?
As long as it's not so big that the letter T and then the E, but if you increase it to maybe twice the size, that does help me. There are a lot of things you can do. You can have talk to text. I'm actually being trained on a computer right now where my emails will be spoken to me. So yeah, there's a lot out there.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you find that with other than immediate problems like a stroke, et cetera, that it's difficult for people to realize that they are losing part of their sight?
No, I think, this is not mine was, hit me over the head with it, right? But I think a lot of people who have those degenerative eye conditions, you get used to the new normal. And what I see happening, or my experience, is that people usually, like a friend of mine broke her leg. People try a long time to just try to figure it out. And yeah, it's like you get used to, I can't see like this, I can't see like that. The trouble with not getting training, if you take the wrong medication, you can break a leg. It actually really bothers me that, hey, you can still wrap Christmas presents. You can still go to the theater. A lot of people with macular degeneration and glaucoma, they're kind of sad and depressed. I'm like, hey, welcome. Hey, come on, join the club, learn a skill. If there's something you want to do, there's a way to figure out how to do it. But yeah, I think it's common that people try to just make it normal and okay for as long as possible. And what I wish they'd understand is they're in for a challenge and a parlor trick. I can write my signature without looking at it. So yeah, that is a really great question. Just let me know when I only have like a minute or two to wrap up, because I want to make sure that I answer all your questions and then I just have a quick wrap up. So yes.
My mother developed macular degeneration, and I think she had peripheral vision because she was born in 1908, but she was still driving when she had this. And now as you talk, I'm thinking, how did she do that? And she never had an accident.
No, she probably was very careful. I mean, I'm just gonna say probably I'm assuming very careful, because what you do is like, just imagine, have you ever had like your windshield really dirty and you're like, all right, I'm gonna be really careful here. All right. And my guess is she had perfected the art of like, figuring out how to do it safely. Whether it was safe, I don't know. But what do you do when you have to drive somewhere? And that's another reason I really support Vision Corps, because in the other counties, they have volunteers that drive the blind to their appointments because Vision Corps is so established. They even, I believe, have their own cars. Like they have a couple of cars. If you want to volunteer and sign up, you can take the car, or if you want to use your own car. And so, you know, before we end today, I just, oh.
It is.
So for those of you back home, do not fret. They are practicing their alarm, which for someone with extreme noise sensitivity makes me really awake. Yeah, for those of you not here today, you missed something. So kind of to get back to like my overall mission and answering questions, why I'm, seriously? No, we're gonna have a conversation. Oh, this is funny. All right, are we done?
No. Who knows?
Okay, so very quickly, what I want to say is I want to get back to sort of my mission and what we can do. You know, number one, I'd be very happy to speak to your congregations on a number of topics in a number of ways for whatever purpose you think is most useful for your congregation. The second reason here is, yes, obviously, I am the only team that is supporting raising money to make sure that we can support our own services and grow, right? So I'm definitely looking for people who would like me to speak about it or come join my team. Figuratively, you know, literally, or maybe say a prayer, you know, when I'm climbing down the building. Obviously, we need financial support, but I need a lot of things. And one of them is just to know Vision Corps and just to know Natanya Sortland, email me, let me help. So if you are interested in donating in any way, there is a QR code. If you're interested in any way making a mission like Covenant Presbyterian Church, please let me know. If you're interested in helping in any way, whether it's spiritual, financial, or spreading awareness, letting me speak, I'd be very grateful, because when I started, it was just me. And now I get to speak in front of you, and thank you.
So,
Yes.
two things. I will circulate that, a copy of that. I'll scan it in so that people can have access to it. Let me apologize for the fire alarm.
Oh, that's okay.
And explain what's going on. New speakers are being put into the sanctuary, and they're fiddling with the electronics that way. They knew that this would be happening. Nobody told me until I went to the office, but anyway, that explains why the fire alarm.
So I shouldn't take it personally?
No.
No, it's okay. So up here, if you'd like more information than what I've said, this is up here. If you'd like to contact me to speak, and also I could use prayers. Every Sunday, you know, I take that time to get my spirit back in order. And I take great strength from people like you, because I'm trying to do something, well, I don't know if it's David and Goliath, but I definitely do feel small. So I want to thank you. So there's information up here if you'd like to support me, donate, or what have you. You guys are great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So it's such a moving experience to hear it personally from someone who is meeting the challenges of visual impairment. And that you bring a certain joy to how you talk about it. And it's encouraging that there's such support out there. So with that, thank you, and feel free to come up, look at the things that are spread on the table to see. I'm just amazed at the climbing down the wall. I would not do that. I don't like heights.
I gotta tell you, I just honestly, I had a GoPro on my head the first time I did it. I was so terrified. I had to take medication to calm my heart down. I was that terrified. And I thought, going over the building, put a GoPro on me. It'll be great. I'll make wisecracks. The only thing I said as I went over the building was, I'm sorry, Mom. And I just went down the building like this. Like I was so terrified and my feet were going like this. And I got down and I was like, I was really cool up there. Then I saw the GoPro and my terrified face going, sorry, Mom. As I go down the thing, I'm like, there's humor, right? It's funny. Thank you.
Thank you. Next week, we'll have, learn how we maybe can deal with deer in the yard. So it's one that many of us have a challenge with of how do we protect our yardscapes from the deer? Or just give up as I've done.
Just let them.
Thank you.
Hungry.
Yeah, really.
Thank you, guys.